Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. It's our City of Newberry Planning and Economic Development, Planning and Zoning meeting for, what did it say, February 5th, 2018. First thing we want to do is read the agenda for this evening. Number one is we'll have a call to order. 2, approval of agenda. 3, pledge of allegiance. 4, approval of January 9th, 2018 minutes. 5 is new business. And under new business, we have A, quasi-judicial public hearing, SDP 18-01, which was previously SDP 17-05. It's a request by Norfleet Construction Group, agent for Norfleet Green Development, owner of Alachua County tax parcel number 02544-003-000 for site and development plan approval of a 4,000 square foot commercial building with associated site development including parking and utilities, Newberry Town Center Commercial Phase 2. Located at 1728 Southwest 248th Drive on property described as follows. The legal description is parcel 02544-003-000.
Mr. Chair, you don't have to read all of that. You can read that by title only.
Yeah. And what's the date the application will... Actually, we'll announce the date. The application will first be heard by the Board of Adjustment. B is the quasi-judicial public hearing, CPA 18-01, an application by the City of Newberry to amend the future land use and plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use on the properties previously voluntarily annexed to the city and as identified by Alachua County parcel numbers 04271-003-000, 04275-000-000, 04275-001-000, 04275-004-000, 04275-005-000, and there's a bunch of other ones. From Alachua County future land use of rural agriculture less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, 2 City of Newberry land use classifications of agriculture less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, and parcel 01910000000 will be changed from Alachua County rural agriculture and rural commercial agriculture to City of Newberry commercial. We'll also announce the date application will first be heard by the City Commission. And C, there's a quasi-judicial public hearing, LDR 18-03, an application by the City of Newberry to amend the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry by changing the zoning from Alachua County Agriculture A to City of Newberry Agriculture A on properties recently annexed into the city as identified by Alachua County parcels that we just read through. Changing the zoning from Alachua County Agriculture Rural Business A-RB to City of Newberry Commercial Neighborhood CN on parcels 04275-007-001, changing the zoning from Alachua County Business Rural BR to City of Newberry Commercial Neighborhood CN on parcel numbers 04369-002-001, and changing the zoning from current zoning of Alachua County Agriculture A and Business Highway BH to City of Newberry Commercial Intensive, which is CI, on parcels 01910-000-000. This application is contingent upon approval of application CPA 18-01. We'll also announce the date The application will first be heard by the City Commission. Next topic would be old business. Topic 7 would be topics from members for discussion, and then, of course, we would adjourn. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
The motion having been moved and seconded, minutes passed. Or accepted. Oh, yeah, I guess we can do that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now they passed. I said keep me straight. All right, if everybody like to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Has everybody had an opportunity to look through January 9th, 2018 minutes?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion we approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. January 9th, 2018 minutes approved. All right, which brings us to new business. New business is a quasi-judicial public hearing, and the procedures we'll use, I'll go through those right here. The quasi-judicial meeting procedures. The procedure is to ensure that the applicant provides a complete presentation of their request prior to any testimony being provided by the staff. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. The procedure we will follow this evening is that we will, number one, first hear from the applicant and the applicant's presentation. Of course, there's no time limit. 2, the applicant will then be subject to cross-examination. 3, the staff will then enter the staff report into the record and answer questions. 4, the applicant will have an opportunity for rebuttal of any testimony against the applicant. 5, the floor will be open for public comment. Each presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff. Number 6, the applicant will have an opportunity for closing arguments. 7, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will enter deliberations. If there's anybody here that's going to be speaking, I'll need you to stand so that we can do the oath.
If you plan on speaking at all, now's the time to stand up. We'll swear you all in at one time.
Mr. Chair, just so you know, the applicant, Trip Norfleet, is a few minutes out still. So he wanted to let you know that he's coming.
Okay.
Can
He's
we
our
trade
first-
it around and do staff presentation and wait for the applicant? Come
Okay.
in.
And
You ready
then,
to do that?
yeah, then I guess, so there's nobody here to speak to A yet? Okay.
Mr. Chair, before Wendy gives their staff presentation, now would be a good time for the board to announce if they have any ex parte communication
Okay.
on this SDP 1801, which was previously SDP 17-05.
Bill?
And everyone's responding that they did not have any ex parte
And
communication.
I do not have any communications either, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, I guess Wendy, you're up. Okay. Wendy, I gotta swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. The item before you tonight is a request by Trip Norfleet and his construction company. They are working on the Newberry Town Center and doing their second commercial building as a part of the town square, where they have a mixture of commercial and residential uses. The next, if you look at that next slide there, it shows the location that's being proposed for the new building. It's a 4,000 square foot building. It's got 30 parking spaces, about 8 of them, well, 8 of them are handicapped. It's just south of the building that's already there, and if you're familiar with that, this goes through and shows the site plan that went through and was provided to the development application review team for their review. And they've provided comments about anything of any concern, which there wasn't. There were some comments about just how that works with water and sewer and the things that they need, which will be addressed during the building department's review and when they apply with construction plans. So that's all I have. The staff is recommending approval of the site and development plan. I don't have anything
Well,
else.
that didn't quite kill enough time that we were hoping. Any idea
Well,
when Trip's going to get here?
Wendy, maybe
You
you
don't
can tell
have
them
to.
about what, besides obviously the planning department, what other departments reviewed this application?
Okay, well, the other departments that were provided site plans and did review is the fire department, your utilities and public works departments, as well as your building department. Everyone's looked at that plan, met together. There's the statements that were made were that water service demand calculation and backflow prevention detail weren't provided, that they were needed and have to be provided prior to any kind of building construction plan review. And then the electric service load calculation type, that kind of thing was not provided, and gravity wastewater connection detail was not provided. So those, they did get with the utility department and providing, his engineers providing that information, has been working with Jamie. And the fire department reviewed and had their comments and said they had no adverse comments at this time. They will, remember that all the departments still look at everything again when it's going to the building department, when they're actually coming in for their building permit and they're looking at the construction plans. But this gives you the site and development plan approval part, and then they will have to come back with their construction plan review.
Mr. Norfleet is walking in
So
just a minute.
to
So
clarify, the construction plans are going to come back. I mean, if that's a question, they still have that next step where they have to have the construction plan review and approval.
Okay.
We've tried to explain to them that they could apply for both at the same time, and if they would like, they could proceed that way, and that might be advantageous for the time frame.
Okay, do we have questions from the board to staff?
I have one. Wendy, Brian made a comment in his DART team notes that please provide documentation concerning additional impervious service generated by the parking lot and driveways included in the stormwater management permit. I didn't see that documentation included in the package.
No, these comments were made and provided to the engineer, and the process is that they have to review those things, and they will provide them, and they work with staff to make sure that they're all adequate and then ready for the construction plan review process.
They don't have to be in by the
Not
site
at the time
development
of,
plan?
no, they do not. But they can't go any further. They can have a site and development plan approved for the layout and what they're planning on doing, but they still have to have the construction plans approved.
Usually you have the location of the retention ponds are in the site plan.
This is the portion of the site plan that was provided. I can't address anything further than that, except that all the staff has had it reviewed, and they are aware that that's a requirement, and they have to provide that, and it will not go any further without having those met.
Okay.
Any more questions for staff? Okay. All right, Mr. Norfleet?
don't forget to swear me
Yeah,
in,
I'm
Mr. Chair.
going to do that right now.
We're going to swear you
We're
in.
going to swear you in. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yeah, I do.
Is there anybody else here that's going to speak on this? No? Okay.
I just appreciate y'all looking at it tonight and hope y'all approve it. I don't know. Y'all got any questions?
It's a good presentation.
Can you tell us a little bit more about why the extra building? Because I know, I didn't think the first one was filled up yet.
Well, the first one's is our sales office underneath.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's there, and then upstairs we got 5 apartments, and they're all full.
Oh, okay.
So the second building's going to have 3 apartments. It's only going to be 2 stories. It's going to have 3 apartments on top. On the bottom, it's going to have a, we don't have anything approved yet or not, but we're hoping it's going to be a restaurant. And then, I don't know if you was talking about the retention ponds. The retention ponds are already done for the whole area, so they're already there.
Yeah. We just needed something from your engineer, I think,
Yeah.
saying that they're adequate because you're adding more parking, right?
Just the parking in the back, but it's already got 105, and it's already, it's going to eventually have 12 sites out there, 12 buildings out there, and so all the storm water's already done for all 12 of those.
That was already planned for.
That was in the master plan right off the get-go. So the retention pond's behind it, all the drainage is there for them and everything. All the storm's already in for the whole square for all 12 buildings. The only thing and all the parking in the front's already there. So there's like 110 spots in front. And so the only parking that'll be is the little bit of parking that's behind the building. That'll connect the road for it.
Does the board have any other questions for Mr. Norfleet?
Go get us that restaurant.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, I guess there isn't any rebuttal. All right, we'll open the floor for public comments. Public comments will be limited to 5 minutes each. Anybody have any? There being none, Mr. Norfleet, do you have any closing arguments? All right. This public hearing will be closed, and the commission will enter deliberations. Jessica, you have anything? There being no deliberations, is anybody willing to put forth a motion?
Make a motion, we accept, approve application SB 1801.
Second.
Having been moved and seconded, I guess we accept this application. Oh, we need a vote too. Gosh. All right. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All right. Having been voted on, the motion passes.
Unanimously.
Oh, yeah, when is the meeting date? We need to announce
The meeting date for the Board of Adjustment for this item would be February 26th at 7 p.m. or thereafter.
okay. All right. Next item. Quasi-judicial public hearing, CPA 18-01. An application by the City of Newberry to amend the future land use plan map of the comprehensive plan by changing the land use on the properties previously voluntarily annexed to the city and identified by Alachua County parcel numbers. Is there anybody here needs to speak on this item?
This was not a quasi-judicial.
This is quasi-judicial.
It's quasi-judicial.
So you need to read through that whole thing all over for
Okay.
each item.
Oh, you want to do the whole thing? Okay. The quasi-judicial meeting procedure is to ensure that the applicant provides a complete presentation of the request prior to any testimony being provided by the staff. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence, The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to evidence of record. The procedure we will follow this evening is that we will first hear from the applicant. Applicant presentation is no time limit. 2, the applicant will then be subject to cross-examination. 3, the staff will then enter the staff report into the record and answer questions. 4, the applicant will have the opportunity for rebuttal of any testimony against the applicant. 5, the floor will be open for public comment. Each presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff. 6, the applicant will have an opportunity for closing arguments. And 7, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will enter into deliberations. Again, is there anybody here to speak on this item?
I am.
Okay.
The
Just
applicant's
whoever's
not
here, just raise your hand.
the
and I'll
applicant
swear
on it.
you in on this one.
I do not swear, but I will confirm the truth.
Okay.
I'm a minister, I just don't swear.
Okay.
Have
I'll
everybody
confirm it.
stand up at one time so you can do it for, because Wendy's going to take it with you at the
Yeah.
same time.
Sir, we're not quite ready for public comment, but if you will raise your right hand, then we'll go ahead and swear everybody in, and we're ready for public comment, then we'll have you come back up.
You,
Are you the applicant
Are
here,
you the
sir?
applicant?
I own property here and I want to.
Okay. Well, we have a procedure we have to follow, so go ahead and get
Okay.
sworn in.
I'm from
and
out
then-
of town, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All y'all
well,
know me anyway, I'm the one who built them apartments down on 7th Avenue, I don't know
Yes.
a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Don't go away if you
Yeah.
don't plan on talking.
yeah,
Stay
if you
right
plan
there
on
and put
talking,
your hand up.
I'm just going to swear or affirm everybody in. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I'll affirm it. I'll confirm it.
All right.
Now you can have a seat, sir. We'll let you know when public comment's ready.
All right.
Mr. Chair, now would be the time if any
If
member of the
there's-
plan board has any
yeah,
ex
the
parte.
ex parte communications. Does anybody have any ex parte communications to disclose?
It's a no
And
from everyone. Thank
I do not have any myself. We're ready for you.
Okay. The applications before you tonight, the next two, the Comprehensive Plan Amendment 18-01 and LDR, which is Land Development Regulations 18-03, are applications that have been submitted by the City of Newberry on behalf of landowners that recently were annexed into the City of Newberry. So they're already a part of the city, and the process is, if I might jump ahead, the process is that once the property is annexed into the city and the city approves it, which the properties before you tonight have had that happen, then they go through a future land use change. And that's changing them on the map, the designation according to the comprehensive plan. It's kind of like your, like laws are to constitution, like as if the future land use map is like your constitution, and then the next stage is your zoning, which is your LDR application, your land development regulations, where you actually place a zoning category on the property. So in the annexation process, once properties have been annexed into the city, the procedure is that we change the future land use and the zoning on the property from what is currently labeled as certain designations in the county. So we change the county designation to the city designation for the land use and then for the zoning. So, and the rezonings, the LDR application, approval of that is always contingent upon the approval and adoption of the comprehensive plan amendment. So if that gets confusing, or if there's any questions at any time from the public or from you that we can clarify, I would like to do that so everybody understands and feels comfortable how that works. It's a standard process that we go through. That in this case, we're changing the future land use map. And when let's see if we look, this goes backwards. In this map, we see these are the little circles and the numbers that are there. It shows you the different properties by ordinance number, which those were the different areas that were annexed into the city. Now that just shows you the general vicinity, so you have an idea of where you're talking about. You've got the one parcel that's further up in the left-hand top corner that you've got that property that's near the city of High Springs. And I think what we'll do is, let me take you through each area, and then with the parcels that are being changed and that have already been annexed in. But this gives you an
Wendy.
overall view. Yes.
Can I just break it, just for
Sure.
the folks who are watching who maybe not have seen this, can you orient us? Where it says City of Newberry, is that the center of Newberry? Is the blue
That's-
Newberry and the white
I'm
is
sorry.
unincorporated, or the
the
circles?
The blue area is city limits.
Okay.
It's your designation. Then the white, gray areas are unincorporated
Unincorporated.
county.
And the
then
circles are the areas that we're
are just
looking
kind
at.
of a general idea
General
of where
idea.
those properties were and are that were annexed and approved back in November. So they're tied to an ordinance, each one, because when you annex them in, they're each done by an ordinance, or they were at that time. So now, the next step being the future land use change, so we're going to change the map. So let's go through the next, let's go to the first map that's been provided. So in this map, it shows you in the green area, that's properties, there's a bunch of parcels in there, the Persimmon Farm area, that were annexed in, and it's a total of 141 and a half or so acres. And that property being located, well, as you can see up, it's off to the west, or to the east, excuse me. It has 13 parcels that are being rezoned. In this case, we are talking about the future land use map. So the request and the proposal would be to change from Alachua County agriculture land use to the City of Newberry agriculture land use. That's what's being proposed on all those parcels. Again, here, going from county agriculture to city agriculture. This is property up touching the High Springs city limits, and then that's got 2 parcels, and you've got 749 acres total. They're, let's see, that's on the west side of US 27, State Road 45. These are the maps that have been used, and so we're just going through with the same maps that were seen before for the annexation. This next parcel, the 2 parcels that have been rezoned, this between Northwest 46th Avenue and Northwest 62nd, just east of the Gilchrist County line. You've got another one that's the 2 parcels that are on the south side of the Southwest 30th Avenue, east of Southwest 186th Street. It's again, all of these parcels we're looking at are staying agriculture. So it's just showing you parcels that are now in the city and going to be changed from the label of county agriculture to city agriculture. It changes nothing as far as their future land use. And in this property, you've got, again, another 2 parcels that are going to agriculture. And the next one, okay, so this one,
Wendy,
yes.
can you back up 2 slides?
Okay.
So why does this property line jut out like it looks like there's a building or something here, and that was the property line, but why is it, did we not annex in the whole parcel, or why is that crooked property line there?
That's the parcel area that was annexed, and that was the parcel according to the legal descriptions that were provided, and that area's been annexed.
Okay, thank you.
The dotted, the dashed line, I'm not sure why. I think when they divided the parcels,
Does that denote a road? I thought.
No.
No?
That's on
well,
the County Line Road and between Southwest 30th Avenue.
yeah.
It's just a weird
But-
way to, it's a weird way to
Yeah,
have that
I'm not-
northern boundary on that parcel.
Yeah.
The building crosses the property line there, and
I can just tell you that when they annexed, I can't tell you for sure what that line is. Pardon? Can I just Yes. If you have knowledge about that, that would be helpful.
Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Okay, as the planning staff assistant, I was posting the signs on this property, the orange signs. So the darker green that have been annexed in and are on this discussion item, they are owned by one brother. the entire parcel used to be a parcel, and the upper left that goes against the county line with the divot in it, that is how the two brothers divided the land when they divided it. The other brother on that northern section is not in the current annexation, has not filed a voluntary annexation application. But it's nothing that we did in the office. It was completely the property owner's decision. And we did talk while we were out there. Both brothers came out and talked to us.
And if there are any other parcels that Janine can help us know about, that would be great, because Brian is not here. He's out of town. He's in Tallahassee with the city manager on another matter. So we're trying to cover all these things that we all do as a team, and we're not all, each person isn't all covering every single thing. So.
You're doing just fine.
Okay, thank you.
I had one more question now that we've got you interrupted and all
Okay,
confused.
good. That's all right. No, go.
So the two parcels up to the north near High Springs, so does that make us contiguous with High Springs now for?
That would, yes, it does.
Okay, that's interesting.
I think that was Long Calhoun.
Yeah. And you said in your staff notes that the total annexation is 1,321 acres, which is over 2 square miles. How many square miles are in the city of Newberry now with all this new annexation? And you can tell
I'm
me
not the
later if you don't have that off the
mathematician.
top of your head. Roughly.
Thank you.
I thought we were already over 60.
We've recently done a lot of work with the county figuring out what's county and what's not, and a lot of our old data was incorrect.
Oh, okay.
So that might be the reason for the discrepancy. But if that's the data that they've just looked at, that study is fresh off the books, less than a week or two old.
So maybe 55 plus a couple more with these annexations? Yeah, okay. It's interesting because we are probably the 19th largest city, last I checked, in Florida. And we're moving up the list, I think, as we grow so rapidly. Sorry, Wendy, I didn't mean to get you off track.
All right, the next, we went through the next parcels. This one before you, we've got changes from county agriculture and to city plan rural residential development. That's an actual future land use designation and a zoning category. That's the property that's part of Dillon's Grove, and that little less than a quarter-acre piece is necessary to provide the road connection from one part of Dillon's Grove to another as a result of a divorce decree.
And that's just the
Yes, right. We don't have pointers yet that will work on these screens. Our normal pointers don't. What kind of pointer do you have that you're using? Who's using that? Who's doing that?
Janine's doing that in the back.
Matt, that's really good. So do we have pointers yet that we can use other than from back there? No. Never mind. Okay. But we will be.
So is the
Okay.
only thing that's being annexed is just that little
Just that
triangle
little piece,
section in the
yeah.
bottom? Okay.
It's
Or
necessary to,
in the middle of the, okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that when we did
Dillon's Grove.
I think he's got this parcel, and he needed the little triangle
To
put a
run a
road
road
connect
through
both
there,
of them,
yeah.
Connect corner to corner, right?
Mhm,
And then
right.
the wife owns this parcel, I think, so.
But
Yeah.
just to be clear, Mr. Chair, everything that Wendy is talking about today has already been annexed.
yeah.
So
Just change.
I know, I just want to make sure that everybody out there understands that we're not approving any annexations tonight. We're just talking about the city's future land use map for future planning
But I think we
purposes.
discussed that when we had the Dillon's Grove
We did.
before this body. We discussed that little triangle. and
We did. There,
We did.
That we would annex it in. Or
Uh,
not annex it, but we would change the land use. to
the
make it-
city was requiring a way to connect the parcels, and so that's something the city required of the applicant to put in an annexation request there.
so this rezoning would, I mean, this land use change and ultimately the zoning change would make it in conformance with that, it's part of that development, part of the PRRD, Plan Rural Residential Development. So, so on that the next application, property that we're looking at, that's a part of this application, is property on State Road 45 or 20, US 27. This property is, currently it's land use for agriculture with the county, and the southern part of it has land use of rural commercial agriculture. And this is the property that's, just so you know, that is just immediately south of the property that you recently zoned land use for commercial intensive and commercial land use for Kurt Siebert, the Top Shelf Storage Solutions development that he's building there. And then, you know, to your south, you've got the other RPM Auto, you've got Quality Collision Repair, and further down Crescent Propane, a lot of industrial development, as well as all other commercial intensive development according to our regulations. So anyway, you have those different land use categories that are commercial already in place, and which is why the recommendation to go to commercial land use on this property, so that it matches to the north and south. And then it's a step down that goes back behind it, it's the industrial land use and zoning for Watson Construction and those kinds of uses. So the next application, we go on to the rezoning, but at this point, the land use that's being recommended, as provided in your packet, the staff would recommend approval of those future land use changes so that the map would be changed, and those would be provided to the state if the city commission were to approve them as well.
Can you back up one slide, Wendy? So this is the highway here, and then you've got this parcel here, and then this was the one we're changing to
That's
city commercial. What is this?
it's the way the map is. It's the road.
Oh, this is all part of the road?
Yeah, it doesn't. It looks odd. Right.
That's right off the road.
All those parcels that you see along there, they're immediately adjacent to the
Just
road.
a real wide right of way.
Yeah, I guess, but it is the road.
Any more questions for staff?
Mr. Chair, how will the rezoning of the parcel that's out near Jonesville affect the already commercial? I think there's a vet and a produce stand in the annex part. How will that affect those
Right.
businesses?
Are we talking about rezoning or future land use?
Future land use, because it's to agricultural, isn't it?
It's going from agriculture to agriculture,
Okay,
right?
so it'll be
It
fine.
stays the same.
Okay.
Other than the one parcel that you've got displayed, was there any, there's no major changes in the zoning or land use from what it is now to what it's going to be under the city, correct?
No, by Florida statute, what you're doing is you're changing from the county land use to the city land use in a comparable
Okay.
zoning and land use category, so you want to keep doing that.
All right. Yes, sir.
Sure. In the notes, it said the county commission objected to 3 of the annex parcels. Can you tell me what was the basis of their objection?
We can go look at those, but apparently they're at the very end.
I think you missed, there are those little red ones that you had.
I'm going to go over here
Ah,
and show
all
you
right.
the actual areas, but the parcel, the large one, that's Persimmon Farm area, that's the huge
One that's for the
easternmost property. It's hard not having a pointer, but it's the easternmost, the lines with the hash lines. That property is one of the properties that they had objected to, and the reason being, which is you could see if you zoom back out, it'll be a couple of items that they put in their complaint and their concern. We have met with them, but about creating a pocket enclave. As you can see where the arrows point to, where there are properties that are kind of become more of an enclave with county properties surrounded by what would become city property. So, you know, part of the annexation regulations would be to not create any kind of additional enclaves. You know, we have looked at some where it seems to reduce that enclave, but in this case, they're concerned about that, creating new enclaves. And
Is
that,
that like the Persimmon Farm?
yes,
There? And is this like the Smith property?
I believe it is. But I don't know that, because I don't have that.
I think it's their intention to annex it.
Yes, it is. But, you know, it's one part at a time, and this is what the applicants that came in and asked to be voluntarily annexed. But we're still
Well, we were
negotiating with the
able to annex
county.
it in over the county's objections?
The way that works is, I'll let the city attorney, or pretty much we are being told, go ahead and go through that. We did annex that. The city went ahead and approved that. They said you would continue if, in the event that they were to continue their appeal, or their, what is the term?
So the way the process
they would
works is
pull it out.
we complete the annexation prior to the county having to give us notice that they object.
Right.
So the Newberry Commission did their 2 required readings and annexed all of the property into the city of Newberry. The county commission then had 30 days from the date of our final approval to voice their objection. And the Florida statutes provide a mechanism then for the 2 entities to sit down and try to resolve all of those issues. If we're unsuccessful at that, the county then has the option to file litigation. So, but as of now, even though they've objected, the property is annexed into the city of Newberry. We've taken.
Is this I know a couple of years ago we did away with the Boundary Adjustment Act. Is this a change brought about by the deletion of the Boundary Adjustment Act?
No, sir. The challenges that they've got, and I'm not conceding their points or that we agree, but they are statutory in nature, that wasn't affected by the Boundary Adjustment Act. The biggest part of the Boundary Adjustment Act was, for our purposes, was setting an urban reserve area and the mechanism, but this wasn't affected by that change.
I'll talk to you offline.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just to play my liaison role, when the commission made that decision, staff, you know, those 3 areas are debatable when it comes to the criteria for annexation, but because they were voluntary requests on behalf of citizens wanting to come in, the commission voiced its position that it was the commission's, the city's job to fight on behalf of those residents, since, you know, they were coming to us and requesting to be in the city of Newberry. So we wanted to be on the resident side and put the ball in the county's court, so to say. So that was kind of the thinking behind it.
Okay. And this would be a non-issue if, the Smiths, if they decide to go ahead
Correct.
and annex in as well.
And it doesn't particularly pertain to changing the zoning tonight.
But they are in the city now. The county would have to fight to get them back into the county.
Correct.
But at this point, we can call them Newberry residents. They
Right.
can vote in Newberry.
And so we've, you know, when we've had a couple of meetings with the county and plan to continue to meet with them in the hopes to resolve all of this.
Okay.
Any more questions for staff? All right, floor will be open for public comment. You'll be limited to 5 minutes each. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff in this instance.
If you weren't sworn in,
If you
remember,
weren't
you're gonna have
sworn
to
in,
do
I
that
can,
again.
I can swear you in. That's
We can
not
do
not a
it now.
problem. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. My name's Ken Hawes, and I live on the corner of the Persimmon Field. Could you bring up that map that was just before that? Unfortunately, you guys are calling you thought that Mr. Smith owned the part that they're calling an enclave. That's wrong.
He's to the south.
What?
He's not to the south, to the west.
Yeah, he's more west.
Okay, so he's not the
So
eastern
It's not that
portion.
one. If you could blow that up. There we
Mr.
go.
Smith does want to come
Now,
in,
if
but
you
he's
allow
got
me,
to
I'll
have
go
some
up there and
touch.
I'll point what I think is going on.
Mr. Chair.
So this is the Smiths over here.
Okay.
These are just, that's part of Peter's development. Peter owns that and that. I own this. So Smith is over here. These are all individuals over here. And a lot of confusion.
Could you make sure you come back to the mic before you read before you make your comment?
Unfortunately, I went to that county commission meeting. I wish I didn't. I should have just forgot it. But anyway, they mentioned the fact that I don't understand the terminology enclave. Isn't an enclave when you completely surround it?
That's, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
That's why we're contesting it, because we don't agree with that.
I didn't
The
either.
county's
And
assessment.
they wouldn't answer
Right.
that. And I said, there's a section that connects to all of Newberry. And that connection, again, I'll show you.
Right down there.
It's right here. So everything is continuous. There's no enclave. What they can
Come
say-
back to the mic, sir.
What they can say is
Gotta get
it's
it for the
beginning
record.
to be an enclave, but it isn't right now. And my objection was that there's lots of these examples all around different cities, whether it's Alachua or Hawthorne, where you do have just a small bit connecting, and they went ahead and approved it. So then when the Alachua County saw this, they said, oh, no, there's only less than like 2% connecting, 2% of the total land connecting to Newberry. And I tried to make the point that, well, why would you look at these properties and say it's no good, and then other properties in other parts of the county do it, and they're good. It's very objective to how it's almost like, I just didn't like how they were doing it. So from what you all said, I guess you're putting the ball back in their court, and they have to object or not object. When that comes around, is there negotiations, for example? Do they have the ability to say, yeah, we'll let this one come in, but not that one? In other words, is that how the process works?
Mr. Chair, I'd let the legal staff answer that, answer that question.
We'll
that
defer to
happen?
the attorney.
Right. Mr. Chair, just to be clear, they have formally objected to all of this, and
Okay, so the whole thing, it's not part of it, but the whole thing they object to.
well,
all the
they
indi-
take issue with certain parts of it. The problem is because it's all one group in massing, you take one out and it can affect other parcels. So we are in what we're calling the negotiation process with the county to discuss all of these issues and try to resolve it. And if that does not occur, then litigation is a possibility. But right now, we're hoping to resolve this, and we are in communication and meetings with the county about these parcels.
In the resolving process, have you ever seen it before where they take one part away and say, oh, if you take that part away, we're okay with it? Have you ever seen that
Yes.
done? You have? So that can be a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to specific ones and how that would work out, but
But you have seen
But
that
yes.
before in other negotiations of boundary issues? Yeah, well, that's all. I wanted to clarify where Mr. Smith was, and that's all. Thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
it's also possible that in the interim, other people could voluntarily annex in, which would lessen the strength of their argument, which we already believe that this particular argument was rather weak, because even in their language, they said that it approaches an enclave. It misses the spirit of the intent, something like that. So it was this, but it doesn't
Yeah, it's not
actually
an
create an enclave. It
It
just
approaches one.
right.
Yeah, that's what I didn't
So
like.
that was our point of contention and
Okay.
why we're fighting for you. And we're also
Okay.
actively working with all the existing property owners right around there who have expressed their desire to come in and coming back to them and saying, hey, now's a really good time. Because a lot of those property owners that wanted to come in couldn't because they weren't contiguous or touching it. So now we're hoping that we can get some more
I see.
in. So we'll keep fighting for you, sir.
I appreciate
Tell
it.
your daughters to sit down.
Actually, it's taken me 8 years to get all this together.
We've
So
been-
it was a long process.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your help.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Gentlemen, I own some property down on 4th Avenue.
Can you state your
What-
name for the record, sir?
Oh,
You just got to say it into the
excuse me,
mic.
I'm sorry. I'm Bishop L. Williams. That L stands for L-U-R-A, Laura Williams.
Thank you.
Y'all should know me. I built those apartments. Y'all should know me. Okay, I'm sorry. I own some property on 7th Avenue, and I'm just paying taxes on it, and I wanted to put a mobile home on it. I got mobile homes all on 7th Avenue, and I wanted to put a mobile home on it, and
You're a busy man, sir. Might I suggest you might turn that off just for the next 5 minutes?
that's what I thought I'd done.
Maybe you can give it to Miss Amy back there. She can help you turn it off.
I supposed to push that button now. Okay, and it would be a help to the city because they could, you know, the property just sat there, and I'm just paying taxes on it. And the city has city water, sewer, and everything, and the lot is growing.
I think this has
Can I-
nothing to do
yeah,
with.
so I was just
the-
gonna
the-
ask
the-
if-
So I was going to ask you, is this
Sir.
part of the parcels that we're talking about that are zoning, or is this a separate issue that you'd like?
No, what happened? I
'Cause if
could put a matcha home on it.
If it's not part of
Okay.
the parcel that's on the floor for discussion
Yeah.
right now, sir, I'm afraid.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm from Balanda, man. I
Right.
just
Okay,
drove
but
up here. I
but
don't know.
this your parcel that you're talking about wasn't in the county, and then we're annexing
it's
it
already
into
in
the
the-
city.
it's already in the city.
Okay, so we have a public comment section after the quasi judicials.
All I know, I just got a letter.
Okay, but
and I'm-
we're more than happy.
So will
to-
you get with Miss Amy right there, and tell her the property and figure out if, raise your hand back there. Let's figure out where you're talking about and whether you need to be up here right now. Before we close it out, we'll give you an opportunity.
All right.
That sound good, Mr. Chair?
that works.
We're still in public comments.
Correct.
You want to ask for any other public comment while they're working that out?
If there is any other public comment, nobody had raised their hand earlier.
Well,
They're always subject to change their mind.
Well, I would suggest, Mr. Chair, you could probably deliberate among the board here, and then if he indeed is relevant to this item, you could
Then
add
we'll
him in.
stop deliberation and we'll address them. All right, at this point then we will start, we'll deliberate. Has anybody got, Bill?
No, you just changed that from the county to the city.
Jess? You're okay?
Ready for a motion?
Okay. Did she say he's not, okay. All right, ready for, if anybody's got a motion?
Move to recommend approval.
Second.
And just to be clear, this is approval to amend the future land use map?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
CPA 1801.
This is CP 18-01. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, hearing no dissent, motion passes.
Do we have a date for that?
That item will go before the city commission on February 26th.
February 26th, okay. All right. Where is the LDR? Here we go. All right, this brings us to our third item. It's also a quasi-judicial public hearing, LDR 18-03. an application by the City of Newberry to amend the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry by changing the zoning from Alachua County Agriculture A to City of Newberry Agriculture A on properties recently annexed into the city as identified by Alachua County parcel numbers. All right. Since this is a quasi-judicial meeting also, the procedure is as follows. The procedure is to ensure that the applicant provides a complete presentation of their request prior to any testimony being provided by the staff. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. The procedure we will follow this evening is that we will first hear from the applicant. The applicant's presentation has no time limit. Number 2, the applicant will then be subject to cross-examination. 3, the staff will then enter the staff report into the record and answer questions. 4, the applicant will have the opportunity for rebuttal of any testimony against the application. 5, the floor will be open for public comment, and each presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff. The applicant will have an opportunity for closing arguments. And 7, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will enter into deliberations. Is there anybody here that is going to be speaking on behalf of item C? Just you, Wendy? Is it, okay. All right. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Okay. Is there anybody on the board who has ex parte communications regarding this that need to be disclosed? Bill?
No, entire board signifies no.
Okay. And I do not either. All right. Wendy, it is yours.
All right. The application for you now is the rezoning part of the process that goes through with the annexed property. So you've recommended that the future land use map be changed for each of those parcels that have been recently annexed, and now we look at the recommended zoning categories for the different properties. And again, those zoning categories have to approximate, be comparable to those that are in the county and, compatible with that area. So we look at the same property, the Persimmon Farm area, and you see there's the 2 parcels there in red. They're outlined in red, and those 2 are proposed to go from, I guess, the agriculture rural business zoning category that the county has, and then to go to commercial neighborhood that we have that's allowed in the agricultural land use category. So that allows some commercial type use, but it still has the agricultural land use category. The rest of the properties that you see there in green are recommended to go to be rezoned to agriculture, from county agriculture to city agriculture zoning. And the next properties, same thing, they're recommended for agriculture. And the same with these other properties. Again, these are all the same properties we just looked at, with the land use now being agriculture in the city, and it would be changed to zoning of agriculture as well. In this property where we have Dillon's Grove that we talked about, with the land use now being recommended for planned rural residential development, then the zoning category that's part of our zoning regulations is also planned rural residential development, PRRD. So that would be the recommended zoning category for that property. And then the next parcel, again, is the property that's just to the south of Top Shelf. I can't even think.
That's an enclave.
This property is the one that's, essentially
It
the
used to be.
property is being an enclave because it was agriculture stuck in the middle of all the commercial and industrial, you're right. So in this case, we're recommending that it go to commercial intensive, It's been recommended for commercial land use category because to the north and south, we also have commercial and commercial intensive uses for the commercial uses that are along that segment, and then industrial back behind there. And this would kind of finish that one area where you've got help to complete that area along the frontage of 27 that will provide for the commercial uses. So it's compatible, and it would be the same category as the other commercial properties. So that's it. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Does anybody on the board have questions for staff? There being none, we have floors open for public comment. Is there anybody in the public want to speak to this? There being none, what we'll do is enter into deliberation on the board. Bill?
No comments.
Wanda? Jess? And I have nothing. At that point, is anybody willing to put a motion out there?
I move to approve LDR 1803.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'm hearing no dissent. It passes and approved. All right. Where are we at? Where's
Down
my...
to old business.
Yeah, we got...
Does that go to the city commission on February 26th
Yeah,
as
when
well?
does this go to the...
Yes, the LDR 18-03 will also be heard by the City Commission following the CPA.
Okay, it's
on
right after...
the same meeting would be the February 26th meeting.
Okay.
And that's their first public hearing, and then it gets, the comprehensive plan amendment gets transmitted to the state for review and that approval process. And then once that's gone through with the different agencies, it comes back, and then the City Commission has their second hearing, at which they will have the adoption hearing for that, for the comprehensive plan amendment, and then they can do the adoption of the zoning.
All right. Thank you. There is no old business, so we'll open up for topics from members.
Nothing.
Madam Attorney? Wanda? Or Wendy? Nothing? All right. Well, I would like to announce again our group of young leaders, where they're working diligently trying to get petitions for their single-member district initiative. They have a Facebook page, Represent Me. If you haven't been there, I encourage you to go. We need everybody to, if you're a registered voter in Alachua County, need a petition filled out and mailed back to us. You can go to Represent Me, hit their little app button, and get that petition. All right, that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn? Don't need a motion, huh? How about that? We're adjourned. Now we need to have a HARB meeting. Does anybody need water or go to the bathroom or anything before we start? Yeah, we'll take a 2-minute break while staff does what they need to do, and then we'll address. You drove from Orlando? Okay. Well, we can listen to this. We'll do that before we do the
I'm the problem child here right now. I'm this one.
Wear my glasses, I can see.
You'll see it.
Do you have an address for it, Amy?
I know you guys are on our side, but what can we do to help you guys? Harvest Morales. You can call me Peter. You're
He probably needs to talk to somebody that's lived over there for a long time. And tell him who owned it at one time. He probably don't own it. He probably don't own it.
no, I don't see the thing. I'm not a good negotiator. The thing is, I don't want to. I don't want to live underneath the stone.
That property was plotted out at one time ago, where everything was just dirt streets over there. And when they come in, paved streets and tried to straighten it out. It's a nightmare. I mean, it's like the corner where I live. My property runs out to the edge of the street. No, I live right across from the school, right there by the high school. But just those roads were dirt roads. When I was a kid, going to school, they were all dirt. No road was paved until, gosh, 337 wasn't even paved until the 60s.
You know a lot of the history in this area. A lot of it is you lived it.
Yeah.
I'm teasing.
But my family has lived here. Grandpa came in the 1860s. My grandfather came, or his grandfather came. Well, it was really his grandmother because, well, his grandfather came. And he had 4 sons. And on my grandfather's side, 2 of them, 3 of Grandpa's brothers, 3 of my grandpa, they had 12 children, but 3 of the sons settled on this side of 26 between Newberry and the County Line Road. And the other 3 from this to southwest 143rd Street, basically, on that side. So it's just, and the rest of them down there between Bronson and what we call Swampland, between Bronson and Newberry and Chiefland, in that area there. People didn't travel too far back then. Because I used to have to ride the Greyhound bus, Mom and I did, if we went to a doctor or dentist. We had to ride a Greyhound bus to Gainesville. Gainesville, when I got married, when I graduated from high school, it was long distance to Newberry. We've come a long ways.
Amy, are we ready to go with the historical?
Start whatever you're going to start. When do you want Bishop Williams to come forward?
Under the comment section of the historical review.
This is really, it'll be pretty quick.
Okay, because this is something different, so, and I know
Is he?
Are we ready to get started back there?
Get,
Back there? Okay.
Give me 2 seconds.
I think they turned the air on now and get cold. Or maybe all those people in here were breathing hot air. It got warm. I thought someone would want to talk, as many of them came.
I would have thought more people would speak.
Why don't we go ahead with our meeting? Can we go ahead with our meeting? Go ahead with the meeting.
Well,
He's
she
gone.
didn't, she was supposed to give us a signal and let us know when she's ready.
What's her name?
Amy? Okay. All right. This is a Historic Architectural Review Board meeting, Monday, February 5th, 2018. Going to read the agenda. We're going to call to order, approval of agenda, approval of minutes of January 9th, 2018. Got old business, which is an update on the state certified local government historic preservation board training. New business, which is an overview of historic preservation resource book being distributed to board members. Topics for members or from members for discussion and adjournment. Have a motion to approve?
Second?
All right. There being a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. All right, everybody had an opportunity to look through the minutes of January 9th. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All right, there being a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, getting into old business, an update on state certified local government historic preservation board training. I believe that would be Wendy.
Okay. I did talk with the state, with Ruben Acosta, who's head of that section for the Certified Local Government Program as part of the the Historical Resources Division. They keep changing those names. But he said that they're still in the process of hiring the replacement for Michael Zimney, who handled a lot of this training and traveling around and working with the different local governments. So they're actually reopening the position again, they should be, and I really did that. I should be closing soon. He said that he could come down himself and try to provide some training. He did mention, though, that they have a regional workshop. There's a certified local government program that each year or every so many years, I think some of the people attended that before. And it was held in Gainesville. I think it was a couple years ago. But that's an all-day, like 2-day long thing. I think one time they had in St. Augustine. I don't know if we want to try to do something like that, or if you prefer, he was asking, do you still want to have a long, like an all-day thing, or could we do a separate night for about 2 hours, or do you just want to do a 1 hour? I'm just trying to make it worth their while, and they can combine things. Do we want to just wait until they hire this new person and get them on board, and or just do whatever the soonest we can do it? What's your preference. I just like to be able to go back to them and see what you think.
Well, we'll be seasoned by the time they figure out a date.
That's right.
We can discuss that. What does the board suggest? Do we want to do an all-day thing? You want to do a 2-hour? I mean, what is the direction that we're looking for?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Wendy, is there policy directions and decisions that the new person could change so that if they sit through a 2-hour plan and then they get a new person, that person goes a different direction and everything that they sat through for 2 hours becomes less relevant, less applicable, or will, no matter who comes up, talks to them, old people, new people, the laws will be the laws?
Yeah. Will the guidelines remain the same?
Yeah, see, you could have said that. The guidelines are essentially the same. The training would be something that would be beneficial to any member, even whether they were on the city commission or part of the Historic Architecture Review Board or the Planning and Zoning Board. I think technically they would like to see the boards, the Historic Architecture Review Boards, having this kind of training each year, especially whenever you have new members, to be able to do something where we have some kind of training for them as well each time they come on. So we may want to do something where we, maybe a different night, we do a 2-hour thing with a break in the middle, and you get as much training as we can get during that time and do something like that each year. And just try to do it as a refresher for those who are on and those who are new. Anybody who might have come on new, they would get that training.
Okay.
And then we'd also be up to speed if there are any new laws or any new requirements and regulations that have come about.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not opposed to even a 4-hour training. If they've got something that we could do 2 hours, take a break, and then 2 hours. I'm not opposed to something like that either. I would like to keep it as local as possible. If they
Yes.
can come to us, that's great. I don't feel we need to be shuffled to St. Augustine
Right.
if they
Yeah.
have that meeting there.
So this could be something like we talked about before. We could open up to let people know about in the historic district, and anyone who's interested who could attend and be a part of that workshop. So if we want to I guess my question then is, do we want to try to move ahead and try to have Ruben schedule something where he comes down before they get the other person on board? Or just let them decide whatever's best for their department
Mr. Chair.
and getting down here.
Yes.
I would also only point out that they have new people coming in, and 3 of the sitting P&Z members are also candidates, stated public candidates in the upcoming election, and if whoever is successful there will no longer be here. So, and that's right around the corner.
Yeah,
So if
well,
you're
I
talking
would
about a
probably-
4-hour training,
Well, I'd also probably request from the board that we waited until
After.
their replacement was up and trained, because that way we'll know the makeup of our board at that time as well, I'm sure.
Okay.
just 4 hours is an awful lot of training to
Yeah.
then have to turn around and go
And do it
Do it
again.
and do it all over again,
True.
so.
That's a very good point. So perhaps maybe we could try to do something like that in May. We'll double check
Well,
with them, May.
Yes,
What do you,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
follow up.
after city
All the
elections.
elections and everything in April. Okay.
But, yeah, like I said, but I'm just not opposed to a 4-hour meeting or a 2-hour meeting, whatever the board agrees with. I feel that it definitely helps. It just, don't want to go somewhere else to do it.
Okay. Well, I agree. Just wanted to make sure, because he said there are these regional trainings, but right, it's a cost and it's another time commitment, and it's much better if we can have it here and also to involve the community.
Okay. All right, any more discussion on old business? All right, brings us to new business. Overview of historic preservation resource book being distributed to board members.
So for
These
that,
lovely babies.
we just wanted to, we had discussed this before and wanted to get that to you. There are a lot of different regulations and different requirements for historic preservation, and there are different guidelines. So when you look at your table of contents, the Secretary of Interior standards is it's a very big document. So what we did is included just the cover page, like 184 pages. So, and it is available online, but we put the table of contents and the cover page of that particular document, which is the standards for treatment of historic properties. And if you should want the full document printed out, I mean, we can make that available, but we didn't want to do that until we knew who wanted it for sure. But everything else, all the other documents in here, you know, having to do with the Florida Master Site File, with the City of Newberry Historic Preservation Regulations. There's the presentation that was given back in July of 2017 about historic preservation, and then there's some excerpts of the vision plan from the future land use element for the comprehensive plan, and some of the other zoning regulations, and that way you have them all there together in one place. And then, of course, as we find out new information, we'll, you know, give you new pages. But I know it's hard sometimes when you're trying to look through your zoning regulations, or your whole code of ordinances, and sometimes it's difficult to find everything through that. So we were just hoping that by providing all these regulations in one place having to do with historic preservation, that might be helpful.
I definitely feel it's helpful for this particular board because it puts everything at our fingertips.
So you have some good reading to do.
All right, any comments for staff or questions for staff regarding the book?
Thanks, Wendy, for putting this together for us.
And you can thank Janine for doing the legwork on putting all these hole punching and putting it.
Open book.
Open book. I
So-
like open book tests.
Assembled everything and made it very easy for me to
Yeah,
All right.
it's teamwork.
There you go. All right, so got no more new business. We got topics from board members for discussion. Wendy?
I will mention that we had talked about this last meeting about bringing some amendments before this board, so that you can consider doing something where we made it a little bit simpler for people who want to apply for a certificate of appropriateness. If they're doing a minor exterior change that's still consistent with the Florida vernacular style, that will come before you. So I just want to make sure that you know that we are going to do that. So you'll be hearing that first.
Okay. Courtney? Nope. Mayor?
Well, you did the P&Z meeting, so I'll do the historical board review. But there is a group of kids out there that have created a PAC called Represent Me, and our deadline is February 25th. So if you've got a petition and it's on your desk and it's been buried by a whole bunch of other papers, and it's been your intention this whole time to sign it and mail it in or drop it off at Frozen Berries, drop it off at RPM Auto, drop it off at North Fleet Homes, drop it off at Newberry City Hall, Archer City Hall, High Springs City Hall, Hawthorne City Hall, Little Red Schoolhouse, Conestoga's in the city of Alachua, and the list goes on. But there is a mailing address that's on that document as well. We need you to get that done. It needs to be to us well before February 25th, so we have time to turn it in. So help these kids and show them that if you believe that you can make a change and a difference in the world, you can make a change and a difference in the world. And that's really what they're trying to do. So we would appreciate any support that you could give us. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me or Mr. Walt Boyer down there. He's well aware of the process as well. And that's all I have, Chair.
Jessica? All right. There being no more things for discussion,